question. So how do dogs learn? I'm going to run really quickly through this because I'm sure most of you know this already. They know innate learning, so that's what genetically what the dog was born with, or things that they do just because they're being a dog, like barking and digging and running around like a lunatic. And then the rest is kind of observational social learning, so from mimicking others, hearing sounds, which is noise, copying others, environment which they learn in, and all that kind of stuff. And then we have other types of learning, which is operant conditioning, which is if I do this, something else will happen, behavior or consequence. And then we have classical conditioning, which is the stimulus response conditioning, which is, I'm sure you all know of Pavlov's bell, which I think I have a slide on next. And then habituation, where a dog gets used to a certain stimulus and they're okay with it. So I always explain to it like moving in beside a train or train tracks. At the beginning, you really notice the train and the noises of the train, and then you become accustomed to not hearing them at all. So you just become habituated. And then you can have the opposite. You can become more fearful from something if you hear it more and more regularly, and it can cause distress. So these are the different, this is operant conditioning, and this is the way that we might train a dog. So positive reinforcement, positive punishment, negative reinforcement, negative punishment. I'm sure everyone has heard these before. They're a little bit confusing because positive punishment is obviously really bad. So we generally don't use and avoid that in dog training. So I would often go, mostly my work would be positive reinforcement. And then alternately with doing negative punishment, where I take my attention away from a dog if they were doing something that I didn't like, by, say, for example, jumping on me. This is our classical conditioning, which is, I'm mentioning again, because this is the main tool that I use for a dog to overcome their fear with people. Okay, so when we're classical conditioning a dog, we're pairing a stimulus that the dog finds scary, or a trigger that the dog finds scary, and pairing it with something that the dog enjoys. Okay, so the bell is ringing, the dog was scared of it, so now I paired the sound of the bell with the treat, and the dog is happy. Okay, so speaking dog. So before you would ever start to train a dog, you need to know how to speak a little bit of dog. So you need to know, can be able to read a little bit of body language, so that you know that your dog, when your dog has reached their limit, where they're at their threshold, where they're uncomfortable, where you've done too much with them. So you need to know, and you need to know this, especially if you're working with a fearful dog, you need to know the stress signals. The main stress signals for a dog are things like panting, lip licking, hypervigilance, avoidance, obviously the known ones, which are like barking, lunging, growling, all of those kind of things. Often people get confused, because often a dog will roll on their back for their tummy to be rubbed, but they'll actually be avoiding eye contact at the same time, and avoiding their head, which means please don't touch me, please move away. And often people will end up, getting bitten by in that kind of way.